You know that feeling when you decide to step back from a relationship, and instead of feeling bad, you just feel peace? It's kind of weird, right? Because all we hear about is this loneliness epidemic. But what if that relief you feel isn't a sign you're broken? What if it's a sign you're finally protecting yourself? All right, let's get into it.
Oh man, this moment, we have all been there. You look at your phone, you see their name pop up, and this little voice inside just says, nope, not today. And the craziest part, instead of feeling guilty, you just feel quiet. This whole thing is about that feeling. And trust me, it's way deeper than just ignoring a phone call.
Okay, so let's just jump right into the big paradox, the central conflict of all this. Because on one hand, you've got everyone shouting about the dangers of being alone. But on the other hand, well, there's what you're actually feeling, and it might be something completely different.
And this is where it gets really interesting. I mean, look at this disconnect. You've got the U.S. Surgeon General saying 1 in 4 adults feels isolated. That's huge. It sounds like this massive crisis. And yet, for you, choosing to disconnect didn't make you lonely. It made you feel peaceful. You don't feel broken. You probably feel more whole than ever. So what gives? How is that even possible?
So yeah, it's a good question to ask yourself. When did I become this person? Because let's be real, you probably weren't always this way. I bet there was a time when you were the go-to person, right? Answering every call, fixing every mess, just soaking up everyone else's drama. So what flipped the switch?
Well, the answer isn't just you deciding to have a new attitude. It's much deeper than that. It's actually rooted in your biology. Your nervous system literally has a built-in function designed for exactly this kind of thing.
Okay, dorsal vagal response. I know, it sounds super complex. But all it really is, according to Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory, is your body's emergency brake. When your system gets overwhelmed again and again, when you've just given out way more energy than you actually have, it goes into a protective state. This isn't you having a breakdown. This is a biological safeguard kicking in. So to put it really simply, your brain basically looked at your energy levels and said, whoa, red alert. This is a finite resource and it's under attack. And then, click. It flipped a switch. It just took you out of social butterfly mode and put you squarely into energy conservation mode. And that quiet you're feeling? That's the sound of your system rebooting. It's finally holding on to its most precious asset.
But why is your switch so sensitive in the first place? Right? Why did your nervous system learn to see some people not as friends, but as, energy vampires? Well, the blueprint for that reaction, it was probably drawn up a long time ago. I want you to think back for a second. Maybe you were a kid who had to learn how to read a room before you could even read a book. You had to learn how to scan a parent's face the second they walked in, just to figure out what kind of mood they were in, because that mood could change everything. You learned really early on that connection could be, well, unpredictable.
And there's actually a name for this. A psychologist named Murray Bowen called it emotional cutoff. It's basically a pattern you learn as a kid, where you figure out that getting close to people, well, it comes with a price tag. It's like love and instability were this weird package deal. So you learn that the safest way to live was just to keep a bit of distance.
And this is so important to understand. This is not a flaw in your personality. It's not a character defect. It is a brilliant, highly effective survival strategy that a younger version of you created to get by. It kept you safe back then. And guess what? The echoes of that strategy are just trying to keep you safe now.
Okay, but here's where it gets tricky. That same survival strategy can be a bit of a double-edged sword. If you're not careful, it can create a whole new set of problems. So we absolutely have to talk about the difference between healthy self-protection and harmful self-isolation, because there's a real danger in mixing those two up.
And let's not downplay this. The CDC is crystal clear. Real, prolonged social isolation is seriously bad for your physical health. We're talking a nearly 30% increased risk of heart disease and over 30% for stroke. I mean, that's no joke. But, and this is a huge but, what's also damaging? Being surrounded by the wrong people.
So how can you tell which one you're building? Well, think of it like this. A wall is built out of fear. It blocks everyone out. The good, the bad, doesn't matter. A boundary, on the other hand, is built from self-awareness. It's not a wall at all. It's more like a gate. And you are the one who gets to decide who has the key. And honestly, here's your litmus test. It's really simple. Just trust your gut. If you let go of a connection and what you felt was an immediate, deep sense of relief, that feeling? That's data. That's your nervous system telling you, loud and clear, you didn't isolate. You protected.
All right, now what if we just flip this whole thing on its head for a second? What if this tendency to cut people off isn't some deep wound you need to heal? What if it's actually a highly developed skill, a kind of superpower you've been sharpening for years without even knowing it?
Think about it. People like you rarely do this randomly. You do it because you are an expert-level pattern spotter. You can spot the friend who only calls when they need a favor. You can hear the weird rhythm of a backhanded compliment from a mile away. You feel that shift, that love bombing followed by the poof, they're gone. This isn't you being paranoid. This is you being proficient.
And you know what? Science actually backs this up. There was a recent study in Nature Neuroscience that found that going through emotional stress early in life can literally heighten the activity in the brain's threat detection areas. So your brain isn't damaged, it's been upgraded. It's like you're processing social information in high def, while most people are on standard.
So please, the next time someone has the nerve to call you too sensitive, I want you to remember this. You're not. You're just operating with a much more advanced social radar. That little feeling in your gut that something is off, that's not you overreacting. That is your highly tuned early warning system, and you have just gotten really, really good at listening to it.
Okay, this brings us to our last big idea, and honestly, it might be the most important one. It's all about changing the words we use. It's about finding a more accurate way to describe what you've actually built for yourself.
Look, society might slap the label loneliness on what you're doing, but that word implies that something is missing, that you're lacking something you want. Loneliness is the pain of absence. Solitude is the peace of presence. It's the joy of the peace you actively chose. They are not, and I mean not, the same thing.
And this is the real key right here. People who just don't get it will say you're running away, running from relationships, from commitment, whatever. But you know the truth, don't you? You're not running away from chaos. You're running toward peace. You're building a life that actually feels good. A life that's sustainable. That's not isolation. That, my friend, is a sanctuary. And hey, if you need any more proof, any more validation, just look at Harvard. They did this massive study on happiness that lasted for 75 years. And you know what the single biggest takeaway was? It's not about how many friends you have. It's not about the quantity. It is 100% about the quality. So if your circle is small, but it's full of people who actually get you, you're not failing. You've already won. So if anything in this felt like you were finally getting permission for something you've been doing all along, I want this to be the thing that sticks with you. Choosing to protect your energy, to guard your own peace, to build a life that doesn't just suck you dry, that is not weakness. It is not being cold. It's a profound act of self-preservation. And honestly, it's one of the most quietly fierce things a person can ever do.